This is West Coast Sasquatch Research. On October the 17th, 2020, a group of Sasquatch researchers and friends gathered to remember one of their own. We met in Chilliwack, BC at Ryder Lake Park. We sat in a circle inside of a wooden shelter while trucks rumbled along a narrow road some 200 feet away. We came to speak about our colleague and friend who we never had a chance to say goodbye to. We came with Bill Miller in our hearts, knowing how lucky we were to have known him. And this is what we said to each other on that day.
It was really funny. It was parallel to a flower. In Scotland, there's a flower that the English call Sweet William, and the Scots call Stinking Billy, for interesting reasons. And I would think that those of us who are Bill's friends would call him Sweet William, and there's no doubt about it, a good loyal friend and what have you. And then all the phonies are out there, the people who take the whole realm of Sasquatch or anything else in life, to be honest with you, would find him Stinking Billy because he come down hard on people. Never more have I seen a guy be so determined and, how shall I say, ethical about two major incidences in the Bigfoot world, right? First of all was Bob Hieronymus coming forward to say he was the man in the suit back in 1999. We knew that I knew it was Bob Hieronymus in 1999 because I had contacts in Ellensburg, then subsequently in 2004, where Bill and Tom Steenberg, John Green, myself, a whole lot of people wrote a whole lot of stuff about how absolutely incredible that story was. It was even harder to believe than Roger Patterson and Bob Gibson finding a Sasquatch. And the other one that Bill had a fantastic response to back in 2009-10 was the Bluff Creek Massacre, and how he took those stories apart, fact by fact by fact, piece by piece. And he made a lot of enemies that way because there are people that want to basically extend a false paradigm, and no, Bill wasn't going to let them do that. On top of that, Bill was a funny guy. I mean, he had the most wicked sense of humor ever, bar none. And as Jerry was saying earlier on, you had to put a sock in it after a while. That's just how Bill was. He affected us all in so many different ways. I just spoke to him 6-7 weeks ago. He rang me out of the blue. He'd been doing these sort of calls without saying, I'm calling in 5-minute type deals, and then he'd keep me on the phone for 2 hours, which was wonderful. But the last time was particularly hard because he was wheezing a lot. He was breathless, and then he'd say something like, okay, you talk, and I'd listen. And he did the same thing, I think, to several other people. Thomas, Jason Zackerson, and what have you, and he was just comforted by the fact somebody was talking to him. Today's an opportunity for everybody to just informally say something about how you felt about Bill, because he made a massive impression on all of us, and that's why we're here now. Whether you had a really super duper close relationship like Jerry and Thomas did, going out there in the bush in the Polaris and what have you, Brad Trent, another guy, Jim as well. These guys all did the wonderful Polaris thing with Bill. And I'm sure you've all got many stories that you want to share. So I'm just going to hand the floor over to anybody who wants to say anything. And you don't have to stand up.
Well, from my view, I've probably known Bill the least amount of time out of all of you, I suspect. I only met him in 2015. I actually sought him out when I saw him on Bigfoot's Reflection. I saw you speaking very well in what I regard to be probably the best Sasquatch documentary put together. And Bill seemed very sympathetic to me, and I sought him out, and he was even better in person than he was in the movie, I thought. He had a great sense of humor, like you said, every time I stopped by in Harrison for whatever reason with my family or alone, I would always go see him. Or he would come up and see me, and we would meet in that little restaurant on the corner there, just next door to the country club. And over the years, we had quite a few phone conversations, and I like what you said, you kind of think in your mind, oh, I'll just talk to him for 15 minutes, and it turned into a couple hours. But I always looked forward to his call, and he always cheered me up. That's what I'll say about Bill. I really miss him.
It was just after I got hooked up with the BFRO, and there'd never been an expedition in BC, so I was setting it up. And I shot an email to John Green asking if he'd come visit us. And he said, sure, just come on out to the house and visit with us, and we'll talk about it. It was like a little kid being able to meet somebody, a celebrity that he's only been able to read about since he was 5. But while we were sitting there, he suggested a couple of his friends to come out and visit too. Him and Bill. And for the nights we were out there, Bill was gracious enough. He ferried people up to top of the mountain above Sasquatch Park, but it was such a rough road. He'd just go up and down ferrying people. And just the way he was, he loved people.
He did love people.
And showing people just the beauty of everything up there, the historic places and telling the stories.
He loved to share
Jim. Before I start, I just want to say that I met Bill 5 years ago at Jimmy's Pub. I was there with Thomas Steenberg and Brad Trent, and they introduced me to Bill. I'll never forget this guy. He was bigger than life. He reminded me of a used car salesman when I first met him. But he'd come off with some real zingers, and he would zing Steenberg all the time there. Every time they got together, there'd be zingers happening. And he was just so fun to be with. Bill had so many stories. It's countless how many stories, and he was so good at telling these stories. As when he told a story, he just painted a picture in your mind of what's happened or what went on, and he was so good at it, So
We'll have a bit more from Jim later on.
awesome.
Thanks. What's that?
That was awesome.
Listen to him go, and I would go home with my stomach so sore from laughing my ass off. He was mostly taking shots at everybody here. Oh, God bless you, Bill. Yeah.
Yeah, he loved you if he was taking shots at you.
Yeah. Just the way it was. Should I finish it up? Everyone else have anything they want to say?
I was just going to say that I think the first time I met Bill, I didn't really get his sense of humor, and I thought like he didn't like anybody, or.
Oh, you mean when he was talking about October Pogo or Cadbury Saurus?
Yeah. He was giving us a hard time. I didn't really know how to like his sense of humor, and I think we were probably down at Green Point, and we were going to celebrate, an anniversary for our group or our gathering, and somebody asked him if he was, were you planning to come by the pub later with us? And he just said, no. I didn't know about it. If I had known, then I would have made plans. And I'm pretty sure he showed up that night anyways, because as soon as he knew that there was a gathering, he came by. But just his way of speaking with people. And at first, like I didn't get him, and then I came to really appreciate his sense of humor. And I hear that in my head now sometimes. I'm saying like, no. It's my memory of Bill. It took a while to really get to know him, and I wish I had been out on the tour. I feel bad that I never got a chance to get up there, but I thought it was really cool what he was doing with the ATV and everything, and I know he loved it out there.
Bill, I met Bill 17 years ago, 17, 18, I don't know. A bunch of us were sitting in John Green's living room, and the door opened, and in comes this big redhead guy, flumps down on the couch, and immediately takes over the conversation with John, acting like there was nobody else in the room but the two of them. And I didn't know quite what to make of them. I heard of this guy up from the States. Name is Miller. And that's all you know about him, the guy from the States. His name's Miller. And I thought at the time, well, we don't need some fellow coming up from the States to show us how to track down our own Sasquatches, you know? Why doesn't he stay in California or someplace like that? He had a mean, sensey, overbearing humor. He's sort of in-your-face kind of thing on first impression. And it took me about a year, but I eventually, after multiple meetings with the guy running into him, no, as you say, you appreciate his sense of humor after a while. It starts to grow on you, and you know he doesn't mean anything by it, you know? And as a few years later, I used to go out with him on his UTV six-wheeler, and Gwen came along too. And we did some trails that don't exist anymore. And we had a lot of fun. I remember us saying, we got to get one of these things. And a year later, we did. We did get one. And we've been riding it ever since. That's 10 years now we've been riding UTVs with the various clubs in that. I mean, so much so we even made our own club, which is the first UTV club in Canada that is totally UTV, no ATVs in it. And at least I've never been proven wrong on it anyway. And so Bill enabled us to get into that, and that's our main hobby, our main sport, and our main interest now. We spend a lot of times camping, a lot of times up in the bush. And when we used to camp on occasion at West Harrison, Bill would always find a way to come over from Harrison, drive around the bottom of the lake and come over and join in on a barbecue. I'd say to Bill, you know, I got reception, can you come over? Yeah, be there. If I don't have a tour. I said, okay. If I do have a tour, I'll be over right after the tour. So, you know. And myself and Glenn became good friends with him. He became good friends with us too, on a personal level. And he spent a lot of time at our place, and we had a lot of good talks, a lot of good conversations, and I'm going to miss that. I'm going to miss his wicked zingers and sense of humor. And you always be sure that if Bill was talking about somebody else, when he was with that person, he was talking about you. You know, you take that for granted. You know, nobody gets.
What are they saying about us?
Yeah. No one will tell us. That's the thing. No one will tell us what he says about us.
And I would take that to the grave.
But Bill Miller, no, myself and Glenn really loved the guy. Sorry the way things turned out like they did, but I don't know, I guess I'm not really over it yet. Yeah. It's, you know. Anyway, love you, Bill. We're going to miss you. We do miss you. It's like I was saying to my wife the other day, I was sitting down in the chair and I was going to say to her, you know, I got to ask Bill about this the next time I see him. And then, you know, that's it. That's it. You've impressed a lot of people, Bill. You've made your impression. I love your larger than life. I love that when you said that, because when you said that, that connected. I said, yeah, you got it. That's a good way to put it, larger than life. And wherever you're at this evening, Bill, we all love you, guy, and we all miss you. And God bless. And yeah, that's all I have to say.
met Bill at the Sasquatch Symposium at the Planetarium. I believe it was '97.
Was he there that early?
Yes.
Okay, so it was
Yes, he was coming up that early. He was spent his first few years up here was spent up at 20 Mile Bay with John Miles. He was staying with John Miles up at the camp. And he got a little tired of that because it seemed like he was being used as a taxi service for John's girlfriend all the time. So he introduced himself to me and started talking about Sasquatch. And he told me all about how he got interested. Bill Miller, before he ever got interested in cryptozoology and the Sasquatch, was fascinated with the Kennedy assassination. And he studied that backwards and forwards. I mean, he could tell you what everybody in all that footage of that day in Dallas, who that was, and what happened to them later on in their life. He knew it all. He knew everybody in that. He studied that. It was incredible. And when I met him, and I said, introduced me to him, he told me about an incident that got his interest going to Sasquatch. I believe it's called Lake Boutain in Minnesota. In 1980, he was on a fishing trip with a friend. And they were in this little tributary of a creek that was just crowded with these water lilies that get wrapped up like rope around you. You had to be very careful. And they were had the boat anchored there. And he was with a friend of his who got drunk on all the beer and that they had in the boat and fell asleep immediately. And that night, while he was sitting there with his fishing pole, he heard something approaching through the trees. It sounded like large footsteps. And all he heard was he described it as a thumping on the chest. And it was getting closer and closer and closer. And he's thinking, what is this, the biggest bear in history or something coming my way? And he realized that the thump sounded like 2 feet, not 4. And he said, here I am sitting in a boat with a drunk friend who's passed out in front of the boat, and all I got's a fishing pole to defend myself with, right? And it just came, and he got a glimpse of a shadowy figure and a moment's silhouette going past, and he could hear it as it went away and disappeared in the distance. He had no idea, and for a brief moment it sounded like it was all around him, like he could hear the thumping there. And we were talking to the late Grover Krantz about it. And Grover said, was there fog? And he said, yeah, there are patches of fog all over the place. It was one of those nights where you get a little patch of fog here, a little patch of fog there. Moved in, you're in the fog, then you're not. That kind of thing. He said, fog reflects sound. So that's probably why it sounded like you were surrounded there for a moment, because fog reflects sound. And that's got Bill's interest going in the Sasquatch, or Bigfoot as our American friends call it. And he was fascinated by that ever since. And he loved coming up here. He just wanted to come up here all the time. He hated it when he had to go back to Illinois. He just wanted to come up here. As a matter of fact, one cold, bleak winter, he asked me to come down to Illinois to help him drive his father's Winnebago, because he had his father's Winnebago, drive it back up to Canada. So I flew down there into Chicago, almost missed a connecting flight. I couldn't believe how long that plane took to get to the terminal. And we got into Panera, and we left in the middle of winter. A whole bunch of stuff stuffed in the back of this Winnebago he wanted to bring back to Canada. Driving all the way. Heater didn't work. So Bill strung up plastic behind the driver's compartment to keep it going. Gas gauge didn't work. So we went by the dimmer. And I started off, and I let Bill take over the wheel. You know, I went to sleep for a couple hours, I think about 4 or 5. And I woke up, Bill was pulling into a rest stop. I get out of the rest stop. There's a great big "You Are Here" sign. I look in the distance, I could see the outline of a large city. Oh God, are we just going past Chicago? We've only gone this far. I look at the sign, I look. Bill! What the hell are we doing in Kansas City? He went, get 6 hours out of our pay because he forgot to take that right turn that I had him across the Great American Plains. He went all the way down to Kansas City. And Bill came and looked at the sign, and he always did what he always does when something just didn't go right for him. He looks at it. Shakes his head. So I took over the wheel again, and I think I drove the whole way. I only let him drive. He only drove going through the Ellens Pass in Washington. And again, I took over in Seattle. So that's just what it was, you know. And he had the idea. So many people were coming up to us and asking, think, boy, it's really great what you guys do and stuff like that. And that's when Bill got the idea of starting a little tour business, so, you know, to give people an experience, what it's like to go out and actually look for evidence of the Sasquatch. 2-hour tours, 4-hour tours, all-day tours, tours after tours. And he talked me into doing a lot of them for him, which, I mean, originally I thought he was talking about 2 or 3 a week. Not 4 or 5 a day, but that's what it ended up being. And he just loved doing that. He really loved doing that. He loved getting out there and talking about Sasquatch to people. He just made his day doing that. He loved it. And of course, Bill always had health problems. He had them right from the beginning. He was suffering a lot from car accidents and surviving cancer and things like that. And he had a stubborn streak in him, like you wouldn't believe. Yeah. He'd phone you up. He was always playing pranks or practical jokes, or as you call them, zingers. But I got him a couple of times good too. I mean, but I had to throw other people under the bus to do it sometimes. Like once he phoned me up and talking about something Sebastian Wang said. You all know who Sebastian Wang is. Bill for years called him Skunkhead because he had that white streak in his hair. I was just wondering what Skunkhead had to say about this or that or that. So I finally said, well, why don't you ask him? This is like 2 in the morning, 2 or 3 in the morning. Well, I was just talking to him 5 minutes before you called, Bill. He's still up. He's doing something. Oh, hang on. 30 minutes later, phone rings. It's Bill. You bastard. And even Sebastian keeps reminding me, you had him phone me up at 3 of them. He did. He phoned Sebastian's mind and said, hello? Hey, Sebastian. If you didn't call him, he'd start talking, Bill? It's 3:30 in the morning. What are you doing calling? Well, Steenberg said, no, I was not up. I did not talk to Tom. So I got him good that time. But Bill, I tell you, he had a real soft spot for wildlife and animals. I remember us coming back along the west side of Harrison. There were 2 dogs sitting on the side of the road. 2 dogs. And Bill immediately stopped. I said, what do you know? I hadn't seen them because they were on the driver's side. He said, look, there were 2 dogs, and they look really almost half starved. I think someone abandoned them out there. So Bill got out a couple of hot dog buns and stuff and fed them. And he put them in the back of the Jeep, and we took them to the Humane Society in Agassiz and took them in there because he wasn't going to leave them out there. And there was just no way he was going to do that. And that's the kind of guy he was. Had a heart of gold. A couple of times when I was, I'd lost a few clients I was working for, and it was really low. Bill at one time brought me a bag of food because he was working. I was hungry. That's just the kind of guy he was. Oh, he hated sleeping on my couch, I tell you. He didn't like staying in my place and sleeping on either the old army cot I used to have or whatever, kids haven't heard him. He didn't like that at all. I never met a kinder downhearted guy in my life, and an absolute throw you under the bus practical joker either. I mean, he'd do it all, and just the kind of guy he was. And he would never, if you needed help, he was always there for you. He really was. He was always there for you. And being in the Sasquatch field, I've lost a lot of friends in the last 15 years, a lot of good friends. Chedmus, Green, Rene, Lanimir, now Bill. And I'm going to miss him. I'm going to miss him a hell of a lot. I'd like to slap him a few times, but yeah, I'm going to miss him a hell of a lot. And Bill, man, if you're up there, the first thing you learn is if there is a Sasquatch, give me one of the ghostly calls and let me know. Yeah, damn right, you let me know. I don't care about October Pogo or Cadbury stories. Just let me know if the Sasquatch is real, because he knows the answer right now. And so all I can say is, Bill, you touched us all. We'll never forget you, my friend. We'll never forget you. Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming.
Husband died in Harrison, and he met her at the Save Keeping Value in Angus. And he says, he stopped the car, I was with him, he stopped the car, got out, or had me get out, and called her over, and he says, is there anything I can get for you? Anything I can do for you? I know your husband passed away. Can I buy you anything? But Bill, you know, he did whatever he could for the downhearted. You know, he had a real heart of gold. And he liked dogs. I mean, he had a dog. He had a great big dog back in Illinois. And that dog apparently used to tear the garbage up and everything else. And there was a big vacant lot near his house, and this dog would just drag the garbage over there and tear it all to pieces. And Bill would call his dog back, and the neighbors would come over and said, did your dog go over there and cause that ruckus and that mess? And he said, oh, no, it's that dog down the street. No, it always deflect. It was never his problem. It's always somebody else's, and he was good at it.
Yes, he was.
He was very good at it. So I'll just do a few more songs here for Bill. I thought Sasquatch was only true fairy tale, seen by someone else, not by me. Love is a thing I find home, that's the way it seemed. Disappointment haunted all my dreams, but then I saw her face. I'm a believer, not a trace. I'm out of my mind, I'm in love. I'm a believer, I couldn't leave her if I tried. Then I saw her face, now I'm a believer, not a trace. Out of my mind, I'm a believer, I'm a believer, I'm a believer. Take her to church, I'm a believer. Sasquatch or human, I can't make up my mind which one you are. I'd like to wake up and find Sasquatch or human, dear, whichever you are. I miss you, I've got to find you, I miss you. Sasquatch or human, please say you'll be mine. Love me or leave me, out of my mind. Sasquatch or human, dear, whichever you are. I need you, I want to find you, I need you. You look like a Sasquatch, your smile is so divine. But you keep me guessing, will you ever be mine? I'd like to wake up and find Sasquatch again. Dear, whichever you are, I miss you. I wanna find you. I miss you. One more. One of the stories Bill always told, real quick, was about. Did you guys ever hear that story about pepperoni? Well, I don't know about that, but if you want me to, I will.
Yes.
You want to hear it?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if I got this right, but anyway.
You don't.
No. Keep denying, Thomas. Bill, Thomas, and who was the third guy?
Very blunt.
Very Blum. They went to around. They were up around Yale. I don't know. You're checking out Jacko and
The Jacko.
Jacko Tunnel 4. Anyway, they were coming back from checking out checking out Jacko, and they decided to stop at a store. So they all went inside, and Bill was in there, and he decided to buy some pepperoni sticks. And Thomas was in there too. And then Thomas, at the other end of the store, was yelling at Bill, saying, "Bill, how much is that pepperoni stick?" And Bill said, "Oh, it's about $1.20. Thomas, no, we're not going to get that. That's too much money." So anyway, Bill bought a few extra ones, and they went back inside the car, and Thomas sat down, and he says, "Where's my pepperoni stick?" So Bill ended up giving him a pepperoni stick, and it's a big one, that one. And then they started driving down the road, and Thomas had his window down a bit. And like a crazy guy, he had the pepperoni stick hanging out the window, right? So as they're driving along, Bill looked in his rearview mirror, and he saw that Thomas did not have a pepperoni stick with him. He just gave it to him. And he said, "Thomas, did you eat your pepperoni stick?" "Oh, yeah. And of course, he didn't eat it. What happened was, the pepperoni stick flew out the window.
Broke. I still had about that much in my pocket.
Yeah, but most of it was outside on the ground. Well, Bill went home and he decided, I got to play. Of course, Bill is full of zingers, so I'm going to play a joke on Thomas. So the next day, Bill phoned up Thomas and said, "We've had a sighting." And Thomas said, "Oh, really?" Next thing you know, Bill could hear on the phone pens clicking, papers shuffling, chairs squeaking. Thomas, bellying up to the table to try and get his report going, because Thomas went into the investigative mode. And then he says, Thomas started asking questions. Oh, I'm going to shut my phone off.
It's probably Bill.
You told it wrong.
Wrong. Is that you? Yeah, we're still talking about it. Yeah. Well, we'll talk to you later. Okay, bye.
Anyway, yeah. Anyway, Thomas is getting all set, ready, getting the report going. He says, "Okay, what would it look like?" And Bill, said, Bill was being vague. He said, "Oh, he's big." Well, how big? Well, big. Well, and then he said, "Well, what was it? What was going on? What was happening?" "Oh, it was hunkered down by the road." Bill and Thomas, going in, he said asked more questions. He said, "Well, what was it wearing? What kind of, what did it have? What did it have, fur?" "Oh, yeah, it had fur, yeah." Then Thomas said, "Well, tell me exactly what happened." Well, Bill said, "Well, people were driving by and they saw this creature sitting there gnawing on a 2-foot garden hose." It was actually a pepperoni stick. That was fun. Anyway, Thomas, this is your pepperoni stick.
Well, thank you.
I thought you would mind that. Anyway, went to that. Oh, one more thing. I gotta say one more thing. Bill, real quick, Bill, if he was still here, and I'm sure he would love to have been here, would not want to vote Trump. Bill had a thing for Trump. He did not like Trump. I know Thomas and Bill got into a few arguments about Trump. Discussions, yes. So yeah. So Bill, if he was here, I know he'd love to cast his vote against Trump. So that's what I have to say. I hope there's nobody politically motivated.
By the way, just so you know, I had the Bill's old Jeep Cherokee. I was in the back seat, and I thought it was fun though because it was windy, and watching a pepperoni stick just whip. All of a sudden, Bill looked back and see me going like probably in the rearview mirror, looking out the back going. Did you eat your pepperoni stick? And it was more important for him to think I was an absolute glutton than I lost a pepperoni stick out the window. Yeah, I only got this much left, Bill. Delicious. Things that you guys all say. And he told me, by the way, Barry, the Three Stooges story, remember that? No. And he said, we're together, and he said, I'm like Moe of the Three Stooges. For God's sakes, don't tell Barry. I said, I told you that he said you were Moe of the Three Stooges. So we went out to do something that day or another, and we were in that roundabout there by Agassiz, pulling away, and Bill's in the back seat, I'm in the passenger seat. Barry Blunt was fiddling with something in the driver's seat, the car doors open, and he said something. I just responded by going, yuck, 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 yuck. And he looked right at Bill in the back seat. It was just like a Malcolm in the Middle episode. You almost hear the wind. And Bill said, I didn't say anything. That was so funny. Didn't have to say a word, just go, yuck, yuck, yuck.
Crazy facets and bits and pieces of a personality that was bigger than life. We remember today other guys who passed away, Barry and John, Renee, Bob Titmus. And if there is an afterlife, I certainly hope these guys have got together and they understand what the mystery's really been all about. It really isn't about the Sasquatch. It's really about the people. All the different types that have been involved in this field. And it's remarkable how many diverse people have been involved in this field. And basically, our lot here up in British Columbia has, by and large, got on extremely well. And when you interject an American into it, like Titmus and Bill Miller were, you really do add to the color of this whole thing. And it is really devastating that the man's gone. I think about it frequently, because this is a guy we could all take a lesson from in due diligence, right? This man was, Thomas is another one that's like that too, the studiousness the understanding of the history, the understanding of the dynamics of this field, and understanding the people that are involved in this field. There's nothing more complex than the people who are involved. But Bill Miller had a singularly brilliant mind in being able to read people, understand where they were coming from. He knew a BSer when he saw one. And with that kind of objectivity, he's really passed on a legacy, not just to all of us, but all the people in the Sasquatch world who've ever read anything written by him. There's tons of forums where you'll find his stuff all over the place. Used to be a web page, I'm not sure if it's there. But as we conclude before we eat, let's stand and let's just have a minute of silence to remember Bill and reflect quietly on his own self. And then we'll have some delicious food. Thank you to everybody who brought something today. I can hear Bill, if there is a heaven, and he's just walked in the door, and God comes to greet him, and Bill would probably say, "You can relax now, I'm here." You'll never walk alone, Bill. Go ahead, folks, have something to eat.
Oh, by the way, there's a great presentation that put together by Jerry Matthews on the computer about Bill, if you'd like to have again or add. Might as well get her started when you can there, Jerry.
Thank you, Jerry. Shut it down after one night. As I was driving out, here comes Bill in the six-wheeler. Jason and I and one other fella. Bill had taken us up on top of a mountain about 30 miles up the west side. The fellow we were with lost his camera up there.
Oh, yeah.
So a week later, Bill showed up as I was packing up. I went with him. He went up there just for the specific purpose of finding that camera to give it back. And we did find it. So,
Yeah, that was one sketchy bridge too.
well, that whole road.
Well, the road was beautiful. It was a Walters, but
Yeah.
Bill and I had to discover that, yes, there are still large grizzly bears along Harrison Lake. I thought it might be a Sasquatch, that's why you started filming. And I realized it was a bear, and it was a grizzly. He was big. He filled the whole road. He turned sideways to show us how big he was, and we could tell he was deciding what he was going to do. And then he turned around and he dove into the ferns. It was like he dove in the water. He just disappeared. So we both decided to do the hasty, a dignified retreat at that point. And we went back up there, and when we went back up there a week later, and we were looking at tracks and everything, Bill said, "I'm not worried. I put sausages in your jacket pockets." I turned around and said, "I don't have to outrun it, Bill. I just have to outrun you."
Okay, dear listener, that about wraps it up for now. My name is Jerry Matthews. You can reach me at yellowcoyote@talus.net. Thank you for your interest, and until the next time, keep searching.